Konene. So on Sunday kuna vile Gachagua alisema something very interesting. Alisema that out of the 17 constituencies in Nairobi, Wiper was only going to participate in one election and the other 16 elections ilikuwa inaenda kuachia DCP. And then he went ahead to say that out of the 85 wards in Nairobi, Wiper was going to participate in 10 elections and leave the other 75 for DCP. And then what happened on Monday? On Monday, kuna vile Kalonzo alibaki amesema that that's propaganda that's being spread by other people so as to make our wili like Gachagua na Kalonzo wabaki wamekosana. So I found that to be interesting. Wacha tucheki vile story ilikuwa reported.
Let's talk about politics now. And a fresh row is looming within the united opposition camp following the sentiments by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua that the Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka had agreed to step down nearly all candidates in Nairobi County in favor of the DCP candidates in the 2027 general election. While the Wiper boss has already dismissed Gachagua's assertion as propaganda, more Wiper members are jittery about the statement by the former Deputy President, which they have labeled as untrue.
So unacheki hivyo, I remember like the first time I heard that, I was like, damn, hakuna mtu yote iko Wiper who has any level of ambition. Because don't forget, the presidency is never guaranteed. So if I'm an MP or I'm an MCA or I'm a governor or a senator, I want to try out my position and I give it my best. So just in case the president does not get it, I still get my position. So it was very weird to hear that all these people had been like, you know what, we don't need these seats as long as we get supported for the presidency. So
his statement at the Kariobangi North PCEA Church, where he was leading the Thanksgiving service for the DCP elected MCAs, caught his colleagues in the united opposition flat-footed. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua sensationally claimed that he had struck a deal with the Wiper Party boss Kalonzo Musyoka to have the Wiper Party step down in all the top Nairobi County seats in the 2027 general election.
Na sisi tumepangana vizuri na kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye ndiye amekuwa akisaidia ODM hapa Nairobi. Tumekubaliana kiti cha gavana kitachukuliwa na DCP.
So akasema governor itakuwa taken by DCP. So I'd want to know, is the deputy governor also DCP ama it's not DCP? But tuendelee.
Sisi tumepangana vizuri na kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye ndiye amekuwa akisaidia ODM hapa Nairobi. Tumekubaliana kiti cha gavana kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha seneta kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha women rep kitachukuliwa na DCP.
Gachagua. So women rep of course ni interesting because women rep saizi who do we have? We have Pasaris. Pasaris Nika anasema that she's not going to run for it again. Kuna watu walikuwa wanasema that ame-endorse Rironi-Mau, but she came out and said she'd not endorsed her. But it's going to be interesting, like who runs for the Nairobi women rep. Of course, ODM have had that one, so they'll want it. Wamekuwa na senator, they'll want the senator. And then the governor, we'll see what happens.
Gachagua also adding that the deal also included 16 out of 17 member of parliament slots and 90% of the MCA seats.
Tumekubaliana na Wiper kati ya viti 17. Kati ya DCP na Wiper tutachukua viti 16. Na kati ya viti 85 ya ward between DCP and Wiper tutachukua 75.
I remember niki-react kwa hii call check video yangu ya jana. Niko nasema like what sort of deal is that? If you're taking 75 out of 85, you're giving me 10 over 85. You're taking 16 out of 17, giving me 1 over 17. What sort of deal is that? That means that you don't respect respect me. You don't think that I bring anything to the table. And yeah, I found out to be super interesting. So Kalonzo at some point alikuwa
However, in a quick rejoinder, Kalonzo, who was attending another Thanksgiving service in Machakos County, dismissed Gachagua's claims, carefully deflecting the blame to the government.
Na wache hii propaganda kusema ati Wiper imeachia DCP vitu vyote Nairobi. You know, they have to try everything wagonganishe Kalonzo na Gachagua.
Kalonzo maintaining the opposition will weather the storm and stick together through 2027.
Of course, we are calling our own colleagues to sit up together. We didn't want to give an impression there's anything seriously wrong. Tuletaka hii maneno ipoe, ndio sasa tuchukue msimamo wa pamoja.
So yeah, let's see how this ends up happening. But I felt like his statement, the statement that came from Gachagua on Sunday was very disrespectful. And why? Even if that's what you've agreed on, for you to take 75 out of 85 seats and 16 out of 17, that's not a negotiation, man. That's a surrender. Like, and I remember talking about this and saying that utapata the only seat that Wiper wameachiwa run for ni Kibra, a place where they know most probably the probability of getting it is next to 0. Ama maybe Mathare North, ajua kuna zile places unajua like it's so hard to get. Hizo ndo places unapata wameachiwa. So of course Kalonzo kabaki ametokea akasema iko nene, that's not going to happen. Alafu another thing that I still talked about jana asubuhi ilikuwa the fact that Gachagua alienda pa kibonga juu stories za Kiambaa. Na history ya Kiambaa inakuwa very interesting because all of a sudden everyone remembers Kiambaa. Najua to a certain level I find it to be hypocritical because if you actually believe that Umsel was involved in Kiambaa, then why support him in the first place? And why bring it up only when mmekosana na yeye? So yeah, but now one person decided to react for the president. Ira ilikuwa like iko nene. Na raya tunabonga juu yake ni ira inaitwa Sudi, Oscar Sudi. And Oscar Sudi of course alibaki ameingia kwa gari yake kama kawaida. Kuna hiyo moja alikuwa kwa gari yake. Ilikuwa ni gari ya kifahari jo. Ira yajo. Alafu jo, I hope ile ngoma inasikika kwa background haitasikika as clearly. But akiwa kwa hii gari alisema some very interesting stuff. So wacha tumsikize.
Wa Munyoro Express ilikuambia mapema my brother, kwa mpole. Unaona William ndiye akafika hapo kuwa president, alipitia mambo my friend.
So hapa Israel end up break down a few of the things that the president went through before he became the president. And yeah, apparently Uhuru used to scream at this dude. Okay, those are the things we never see. Yeah?
Alikuwa mbunge for 3 term, akakuwa waziri akafukuzwa, akakuwa nini, akapelekwa Hague, akakuwa naibu wa Uhuru Kenyatta, akafumulia kwa kusema tu yes sir, yes my boss.
Askeo, yes sir, yes my boss. Damn. I think sometimes we assume, like we look at someone and you're like, this is the deputy president, and we forget that they have to humble themselves because there's someone above you and that person might be there just screaming at you.
Hata kama unajua ule jamaa alikuwa mtu yangu, alikuwa mtu wa lakini alikuwa anapiga simu na maasira nini, huyu anasema tu yes sir, yes my boss. Nikakwambia kuwa mpole, kuwa muungwana.
Yeah, unasikia hiyo? Ati kuna vile Uhuru alikuwa anapiga matings zake alafu kama amejam anapigia ira yajo. Iko zile yes sir, yes sir. So ilikuwa moja ile alisema akiwa kwa ndai, and I guess after afike the destination where he was going, he decided to do like another video. And on this video of course what happens, kuna kwa this, the politics of Kenya na kwa the politics of disrespect. So you have to have all these names for each other. And yeah, so Sudi waganaita nani Mr. Dorcas, Gachagua Mr. Dorcas. So usishindwe hii Mr. Dorcas imetoka wapi. Acha tumsikize.
Wa Munyoro Express, please, wa Munyoro, ongea kuhusu siasa, ongea kuhusu anything, fanya siasa yako yote, piga panganga, ropoka, hara kwa mdomo, lakini please, mambo ya post-election violence, najua unataka vita sana wewe, najua iko kwa DNA yako. Wakati ulikuwa Molo, wakati ulikuwa Kiambu, wakati ulikuwa venye unajua.
So kwa unashindwa hizo wakati ulikuwa Molo, wakati ulikuwa ni story za Gachagua akiwa DO. The Molo clashes, hizo ni siku za kitambo kabisa. Unajua zile siku za KANU.
Unajua wanasiasa wengi wakishindwa, kama wana policy, kama wana idea, wakiwa wajinga kama wewe, wanaenda direction ya vita. Mambo ya post election violence, my friend Gigi, Mr. Dorcas wa Munyoro, wachana naye.
Nasikia Mr. Dorcas wa Munyoro, achana na. Yes, so just in case haujui what this is about, ilikuwa ile post that Gachagua alibaki ameseti Facebook. Like ilikuwa a nasty one. Like on the Facebook one was more nasty than the Twitter one, because the Facebook one came with like a lot of images, and the images were the images of the churches that allegedly Ruto alikuwa involved in kuzidestroy. And of course the main focus ikiwa ni 2007. So yes, wote tuende kwa Facebook. Inakuwa gani? Honorable Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa Mr. Gedeji. What is your obsession with attacking children in the Church of Christ? In 2007-2008 you banned Kikuyu children and women in Kiambaa Church. The other day as Deputy President you tear-gassed innocent pupils along Langata Road when they were defending their land. Today you sent police and goons to attack children in Kariobangi PCA Church. Is it a ritual or what is it? Alafu sasa kuna picha fulani ya Madam Mzee akiwa Masai za Kiambaa, and apart from that kuna watu wa Langata Primary wakiwa tear-gassed. Alafu sasa watu wa PCA Church Kariobangi wakiwa tear-gassed. So this was it, and this thing has like 56.7 ni likes and dislikes and whatever, 20.8 comments and 1000 shares. Let me see like a few comments nione. But I might be poor in mathematics, but what I know is that 2022 came after 2005. I think hiyo ni watu kumremind like kwa nini hukutuambia nini hii story. Alafu Mr. Sam Mwangi akamwambia, Your Excellency, as you continue engaging with the public, it's important to stay vigilant. There are clear efforts by certain individuals to disrupt your meetings and distract from your message. Alafu Wilfred Jehia, Kiongozi, kindly remain as economical and discreet as possible with the internal agreements to avoid unnecessary exposure. Yes, so hizi ndo vitu will happen, and yes, your Claudia 2007 will always hang around the president. So yes, this is the reason why Umsali reactive, because he felt like he needed to defend his boss, and yes, so wacha tuendelee na him defending his boss, and by that I mean Sudi defending Ruto.
Sisi wengine tulikuwa Wazingishu, tulikuwa bonde la ufa, tunajua mambo watu wetu walipitia.
Hapo alisema bonda na ufa ama bonde la ufa. Mimi nilisikia vitu zangu. Ajua Sudi pia uenjoyiwa sana mpaka kuna time anaweza sema kitu the right way, alafu tuisikie vitu zetu. Sijui alisema bonda na ufa, mabonde la ufa. Okay, acha tusikize tena.
Sisi wengine tulikuwa Wazingishu, tulikuwa bonde la ufa, tunajua mambo watu wetu walipitia. Hatujasahau, tulisameana, lakini hatujasahau hiyo ujinga yenye ilipatikana kwa sababu ya wajinga kama wewe.
And this is a right point. Hiyo story ya tulisameheana but tujasahau. Najua we forgive but we didn't forget. Najua because watu wamboga forgive and forget. Him is like, you know what, we forgave but we didn't forget.
Tafadhali. Juzi ulikuwa unatuambia vile ulikuwa unatetea William Ruto about 2007-2008. Sasa leo wewe ndio unaongea kwa sababu haukufiwa, haukupoteza mali, haujui wenye waliumia. Na wacha nikwambie wewe Mr. Dorcas. Kenya ni ya Wakenya wote. Wale ndugu zetu hawana pale pa kuenda. Huko penye unaongea bila kujali, kumejaa. Hiyo mlima imejaa. Hawa ni Wakenya, wanafaa kuwa Kenya popote. wanaweza ishi Kenya, hapo ni kwao. Ukitaka kunihudhi ama ukitaka kuudhi watu wengi, ongea kuhusu post-election violence.
Okay, tukitoa history ya post-election violence, yes, I think the worst thing about this tribal rhetoric, and kuna watu shindago why keep calling it out, why I don't support Gachagua when he talks about tribe this, tribe that, is it reminds people of their tribes. And we live in a country that I think one of the things that history lied to us, ni muchekaga sana, ni vile history ubonga ni kama when white people walikuja, they found Kenya, they didn't find Kenya. So hao wenyewe ndio walichora borders zetu, and in the process they made us Kenyans, and as Kenyans we've never identified as Kenyans. I don't know if that makes sense. We've never been a nation. We've always been these people who are super divided. So with that in mind, we need like our leaders to be more vigilant. We need our leaders to be more, you know what, like more careful with what they say. Na inakuwaga very reckless for like the former deputy president to talk the way he talks, because in the process inakuwaga nikana kuremind wewe unatoka hapa, wewe unatoka hapa, and this eventually politically can translate into situations where people feel like wewe haufai kuwa naishi hapa, and that's what even Oscar Sudi can see. There is a don't make people feel like there are places in Kenya where they don't belong. It's not a good thing. Yes, it might help you win an election, but the amount of damage that causes in the long run is not worth it.
You are an idiot. Wewe ni mtu mjinga. Na ndakuita mjinga because wewe you are a fool. Please. Ulishindwa mbele. Usileta hasira mbele, uleta unajua kenye ulifanya kanisani jana. So clips imetoka. So ulikuwa na goons huko. So unajua kenye ulikuwa na koroga ndio ati ifanyike upate sympathy. Hakuna sympathy utapata wewe ukulele fucking.
Damn jo, burale fucking. Burale fucking. Okay, hiyo jina jo. So iki come to Sunday, you have the opposition blaming the government, you have the government blaming the opposition. But what's the lesson that we can learn from this? We need to go back to the year 2023 when Gachagua was still the deputy president, and the government was harassing the opposition. And at that point he supported it. And that's too late. We can't cry over spilt milk. But what we can do is, wewe, I'm assuming, like kuna mselani watch saizi uleta end up as a politician. If you ever end up on the side of power, do not support injustice, because it's only a matter of time before the tables are turned and you find yourself on the other side. Ausamaga, the laws are there. I think majuzi tulikuwa na Nganga Muigai hapa na alisema something very interesting. The law inakuwaga meant to tame bad people. Najua, the constitution, it's there because najua that bad people exist, and it's there to have those checks and balances, and I think that's super important, hizo checks and balances, and sometimes we take that somehow for granted. Like if you're on the winning side, we don't care if there's any injustice happening on the other side.
Wachana na maneno ya post-election violence, na wacha maneno ya vita kwa kichwa yako. Usa sera. Sema vile utabadilisha hii barabara Rironi hii uongeze line 8. Sema vile utakuja kujenga affordable housing juu ya hiyo William Ruto anajenga. Sema vile utakuja kubadilisha SHA ilipe mara 10. Sema vitu, tafuta namna. Acha ujinga wewe na maneno ya post election violence, please. Wewe ni shetani mdogo wewe.
Damn. So I think hapa iko nini, if there's one thing that has been happening lately, tumekuwa tukilearn this Swahili phrases. So tulisikia msenge baridi, tukasikia KUMA kibuyu, na sasa tunasikia shetani mdogo. Damn, okay. Shetani mkubwa na shetani mdogo. But one of the things that nani amemention hapa, Oscar Sudi, ni Rironi Road. Na history ya Rironi, I saw a very interesting post that had been shared by naitwa nani? Gidi wa Patanisho. Alibaki ameshare something very interesting. It's so interesting na bonga juu ya Gidi wa Patanisho, but nafaa kusema tu Gidi wa Gidi majimaji. Najua, but of course kuna majenzi wale wajui hata juu ya Gidi majimaji. So alikuwa ameandika a very interesting post, and the post was about Nini, ilikuwa about what? The road the road that's being formed, sindio? So he'd shared a post, and this post had been done by Joyce, who Joyce ni the Motorist Association of Kenya Vice Chair. So let me read part of it. I found it. This is something that I've not looked at this story like deeply. So ilikuwa hivi: public information and clarification notice, disregard the misinformation being spread by bloggers. Then kakwa, the Motorist Association of Kenya wishes to address widespread misinformation and set the record straight. We fully support the long-delayed expansion of the A8 highway. This has never been in dispute. In fact, the Motorists Association of Kenya have pushed for its upgrade for more than 20 years. During that same period, the Highway Authority repeatedly attempted to introduce public-private partnership toll schemes that would convert public infrastructure into private profit centers at the expense of the slighted citizenry. What motorists oppose is not development. We oppose double taxation, unlawful tolling, and the creeping transformation of Kenyan public roads into lifetime revenue streams for private concessionaries. Damn! It gets interesting. They break it down in a way that I didn't know. Ikaendelea. When toll fees were abolished in 1994, they were replaced with a fuel levy paid upfront by all fuel users. This levy grew from a few cents to 3 shillings, then 6 shillings, then 18 shillings, and eventually to 25 shillings, an increase that lacked proper legal justification. Today, every Kenyan motorist pays his levy in advance. You cannot introduce toll fees while the fuel levy is still in place. You cannot fund roads twice. One system must go. Citizens cannot be charged at the pump and then again at the toll gate. Like, damn, I actually agree. The law governing the Build, Operate, Transfer project is also unequivocal. A toll road must be constructed on newly acquired private land and must leave the existing public highway as a free alternative route. A BOT cannot legally be erected on existing public land. This was the very reason American firms like Barney Bechtel and Usahihi walked away. They refused to toll an existing public highway. And indio kitu moja ile watu shinda kwa why sometimes we clash ama criticize Ruto. Ruto knows these things, najua, and what is he doing about it? Because even ikikamtu hata vitu kama SHA ni double taxation, because people are taxed, healthcare inafaa kuwa hapo ndani, but on top of that wanatoa a whole other extra for healthcare. Then ikaendelea. The Nairobi Expressway followed the law by being elevated, leaving the lower deck free. The SGR was constructed on new land while the meter gauge railway remained open. These are examples of lawful tolling structures. Any user pay toll road must meet BOT requirements, not to be forced onto the public through shortcuts or unlawful reinterpretations. The responsibility for building and expanding national roads rests squarely with the exchequer, not individual motorists. Motorists have already met their obligation through taxes. It is the government's duty to deliver value for money, not shift its responsibilities to private profit-seeking concessionaries. A concession, as the name connotes, is by definition a surrender of public rights, something countries like Sri Lanka and Zambia were forced into after defaulting on international loans. Kenya, however, has never defaulted in over 30 years. Why then are we behaving as though we must surrender our highways to foreign companies? Selective tolling is also discriminatory. Damn, this is another thing that I didn't know. Because wakaendelea, why should western-bound Kenyans pay toll charges while other regions enjoy free dual carriageways? The Thika Nyeri dual carriageway is toll-free. Why then should one section of the A8 be singled out? National development cannot be selective or punitive. Damn, there are people who know these things. And because yes, I've used the Thika highway, but I've never thought about it like from this point. This is like you can't know everything. Like you have to learn from people who understand. So of course, With this, I'll also show you the sort of narrative that's being pushed, where people turn this into a tribal fight, but it's a national fight. Ikiendelea, we must also confront the truth. The highway's 16-year failure to progressively upgrade the A8 while other major national roads were modernized cannot be dismissed as an oversight. It's a serious failure of duty. The deliberate neglect resulting in head-on road crashes, deaths, gridlocked and congestion has conveniently created the crisis now being used to justify a PPP-tolled road. This is not office planning. It's engineered desperation. Instead of burdening motorists, the proposed 200 billion toll fee could easily be securitized in a sovereign loan, just as was done under Securing One and funding transparently through the national budget. With a budget of 3 trillion, are we genuinely claiming that Kenya cannot afford 200 billion? An already inflated figure to upgrade its most important corridor? Of course, this is inflated, yes. How many billions have been wasted on cancelled, inflated or poorly executed projects? Auditor General report shows a whole trillion public fund wastage, e-citizen, 300 billion etc. Then Kendelea, if motorists are expected to fund road construction and then pay again to maintain those same roads, what is the purpose of the taxes we pay every day? We cannot continue sustaining a system where the public funds everything while the government agencies evade accountability. Yes, this is very important. Yes, I'll say ikikam to accountability, hiyo time hawajui. But ikikam to stories za kutuambia tuongeze taxes, wako number 1. Then ikiendelea, let us be absolutely clear. Motorists are not against the expansion of the A8 highway. We've advocated for it for over 20 years. What we oppose is double taxation, unfair tolling, selective regional punishment, and the privatization of Kenya public roads. Nacheki hapa wakaendelea wakajirepeat. Then ikakuwa, this is not a fight against development, it's a fight for fairness, for legality, and for the protection of public assets. Public roads must remain public. Motorists deserve justice, not exploitation. Signed, Mark Vice Chair. So damn, I didn't know that for example, this story, like what happened with the expressway, the reason that iko juu is because the public road has to remain public, najua. And yes, this is because nimekuwa nikisikia those rates, like if you drive from where kwa time tumetoka Masaiza Mlolongo tukaingia kwa expressway up to Masaiza South Sea, I remember it was 400 shillings and I didn't know, but somehow I could not justify it in my mind. I'm like, that's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. Like, why are we paying all that? And now to think about it and know that kuna other places where it's free, then other places it's no. That's not fair. And I think this should be fought in court. No one is against the road being expanded, but if already every time tunalipia fuel, there's fuel levy, then why? And I think even if fuel levy inakuaga serious design, even kwa electricity bills zetu inakuaga. So, but let's forget about electricity. Let's think about how many Kenyans use paraffin. Fuel levy iko hapo ndani. Petrol, diesel, fuel levy iko hapo. So why turn around and tell us we need to need? So yeah, this is good that a few people are fighting that. Yes. But nikimalizia na hii story, ilikuwa ni Wanga punishes her deputy Magwanga after Kasipul by election. So I found this story to also be super interesting. Magwanga, yes, kona shitwa ni nani? Ni deputy wake. Na huyu deputy wake alikuwa na support Aroko kwa the just concluded by elections. So ikakuwa ni Wanga punishes Magwanga after Kasipul parliamentary race. Ikakuwa ni Homa Bay. Deputy Governor Oyugi Magwanga has been relieved of his duties as the county executive member for agriculture, as Governor Wanga seeks to distance herself from political critics ahead of the 2027 elections. In a letter to all executive committee members, County Attorney Frederick Orego and County Secretary Professor Bernard Muok and the Governor directed Roads Executive Danish Onyango to serve in the agricultural docket in an acting capacity. The changes come after Magwanga openly defied the governor, who is the ODM national chairperson, during the Kasipul parliamentary by-election campaign. Then ikaendelea ikakuwa ni the deputy governor chose to support the independent candidate Philip Aroko when the governor wanted all ODM members to support party candidate Boyd Were. As a form of punishment for his defiance, Ms. Wanga stripped her deputy of one of his mandates, leaving him to serve only in one office. Mr. Magwanga was also locked out of office in what he termed as imprisoning public offices in political standoffs, which he said strips the government of its integrity, stalls essential services, and threatens the democratic principles. So, this story ni interesting sana. If there's something that I've always said, deputies, either deputy presidents, deputy governors, deputy blah blah blah, they are just flower girls. They have no power. It's just something that gives you that warm fuzzy feeling as you go to sleep jioni, but otherwise you have no power. And the minute that you challenge the king, unajua inamboga like if you shoot at the king you best not miss, and this is what has happened. Wame miss, and now this is the problem that Ubudai konayo. Actually think it's foolish. Angetulia tu, just play your position, shut up, and nini. Otherwise, if you try and challenge, you're the one who's going to lose in the long run. Usijaribu. Gachagua tried that shit. Ruto himself tried that shit with Uhuru, and it didn't work out. So I don't know. I'd want to know like what made him think that this was a good idea, especially considering that Aroko himself is also a questionable character. Ingekuwa like it's this professor that he was supporting, na huyu professor anajulikana for like great things, then tungesema that it was justified, but haikuwa justified. But yeah, so nikimalizia acha nimalize na hii headline. Headline ilikuwa ya The Standard. Of course I always check out The Standard because The Standard inakuwa very interesting. Ilikuwa ni hit by Russia's war. Then kakuwa in Rwaka, a family is shattered after their father, a matatu driver, was duped into traveling to Russia for a job only to be forced into military service and killed on the front line in Ukraine. The grief exposes a far wider crisis. Africans are being swept into a covert Russian recruitment pipeline that preys on poverty and desperation. Security officials and global analysts say Moscow is targeting vulnerable population to plug its troop shortages while shielding Russians from the true cost of war. Governments are now being urged to urgently protect their citizens from this deadly dragnet. Kuna mse upendaga kuniuliza hiyo story, like why does Russia need to do this? Na inakuwaga very simple. War inakuwaga very costly. A lot of people die. If you can protect your citizens from dying, then what's going to happen? The population in your country is going to support the war. And kitu kama America, mpaka leo kuna watu wajai forgive George Bush for the Iraq war na stories of Afghanistan. Why? Because those deaths were necessary. That's why now drones zimekam za kufanya vitu. And in the process, Russia is doing the same. Like, we don't want Russian citizens to die. Who do we get to die? Africans, because Africans na desperation yetu. We'll go there. Plus, I always say the white image of Christ, ita play a very big role. Najiambia mzungu si mtu mbaya, then unajipata pale kwa front line ukiface the barrel ya mzungu mwingine, na nasikia toa iko nene.